Welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Tuesday evening. It is Tuesday. I got it right. I get it right now.
You do.
Yeah, I'm a lot better. I'm a lot better than I used to be, for sure. And I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I don't know what clicked. Maybe it's just because we've been more consistent about doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's that made it a little easier for me. You got to remember, there was a while when I was doing the show where I was doing Monday through Friday. And then there was a time when we were doing Monday and Thursday, and there was a time when we were doing Wednesday and Monday, and so now we're kind of sticking.
When were we doing Wednesday and Monday?
That was before you.
Okay.
I've changed it around a lot, but we've been pretty consistent with Tuesday, Thursday recently, which has been nice. Thank God. I'm a little under the weather this week, guys, so I'm a little. I got a summer cold, the best kind.
You're sick all the time.
I am.
It amazes me.
What happens when you live in a fucking petri dish, bro? With 7 children. Just constant illness. It's I hope that all my kids grow up to have like the best fucking immune systems in the history of the world.
They better.
Yeah, no shit, right? Guys, before we get too far into this, go check out toplobster.com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend and partner on Break Cycle, where you can get all kinds of great hats, backpacks, hoodies, leggings, maybe. We talked about this last week. You can get the great Break the Cycle custom-made Couch Streams pillow that you see next to Ryan over there. And all kinds of other stuff. You can use BTC at checkout for a 10% discount, or join the Patreon, subscribe, start, become a member of the YouTube channel under all of my videos by hitting the join link, where you can get into a private Discord server and get some Topps new gear up to 2 weeks before it goes to the general public at a 30% discount. Now, that Discord server is mostly moderated by Ryan, but I'm going to make a triumphant return soon. So if you guys want to come into that cool Discord server, and we will, when I next week I will be gone all week for a training for work. So there'll be no shows next week. When we return, I'm going to start doing members-only shows. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we'll have members-only shows again after the show, either with the guest or without, depending on if the guest can stay, but hopefully they can most of the time. But we will return to regularly scheduled members-only shows where you guys get the roughest dirt that we always pass through on this show. That's the place to do it. So if you guys want to get into those shows, make sure you become a member of Patreon, Subscribe Star, or the YouTube channel. That's where you can get those things done. Check in with my wonderfully haired, not so wonderfully haired anymore, co-host, Mr. Ryan Kurtz. Sir, how are you doing tonight?
I still got plenty of hair.
It's not like it used to be, dude. It's very sad. We all miss it. Everybody miss. Hey, drop some F's in the chat for our good friend Ryan chopping his hair off.
It was for a good cause. What can I say? And
was it a good cause?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes. Giving it to children with cancer is a good cause.
That's fair.
Cause, yeah.
Now you made me feel like a dick, dude.
Yeah, that's because you were being a dick. Yeah, well, no, you should feel like one. Well, you were being one. It
might have been a good cause, but you look like you stepped off the Lilith Fair stage and we're playing with like the fucking Indigo Girls or something, dude. It's ridiculous.
I don't know who that is.
I know you don't. It's because you're 28 years old. 29. Sorry.
I'm 29. Yeah.
You're pushing 30 now. You wouldn't remember the Lilith Fair concert. It's basically a giant gathering of lesbians. That look like Marcy Darcy from fucking Married with Children. All of them, every one of them. And they went to watch a bunch of girl power bullshit bands like the Dixie Chicks, right? Who ended up being pretty based at one point, I think. And then the Indigo Girls and all these things. You look like you belong there, like with a beard though. So like, adjusted for 2024 gender inflation. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So like maybe in the top 10% most masculine.
Most masculine woman for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could go for that, dude, for sure. Guys, we got a great show for you tonight. I'm very excited. Man's been on the show a few times. He's always fun. He's maybe just jumped the line as the most offensive comic with his brand new comedy stand-up special, Goliath. It is Mr. Josh Denny. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain, man. Thanks for coming on again. It's been a while.
I got to ask you, because I noticed this when we jumped on, but you got to be feeling pretty good about Macklin Celebrini.
I just cut out.
He's in Macklin Celebrini?
Yeah, I just lost him.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, what's up?
Lose me?
Macklin Celebrini. What did I miss?
Oh no, I was talking about the Sharks' #1 overall draft.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah. I you want to know something hilarious? I'm a diehard Sharks fan. I got like probably 20 autographs on this hat that I'm wearing right now. All my Sharks gear is autographed. I used to have season tickets. I paid zero attention this last season at all.
Well,
it was so fucking bad, dude, that I didn't.
That was correct.
Yeah, it was so bad, dude. Like I didn't watch anything. I think I watched like a total of maybe 4 games the whole season, and I was like, dude, we're not. It's just one of those like. And the fucked up thing about the Sharks is like we're consistently one of the best teams in the NHL since the inception of the Sharks. I think there's been 5 or maybe 6 years where we didn't go to the playoffs in the entire existence of the Sharks, and we've only been to the Cup once, got smacked by the Penguins, and we typically go out in the first or second round. Just how it works.
So they're the hockey version of the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, dude, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good comparison.
It is sad. Yeah, no, I don't know that I'm excited about the Sharks right now. It sucks, dude. I've been so excited about them for so long that it's like this last season felt right. Honestly, it was like finally a season where I don't get to be excited. I just don't give a shit anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, they're in that cycle, and I'm a Flyers fan, so we're going through the same thing right now where it's like, well, you were good, you were kind of good for so many years, and then you kind of got to be bad in hockey for a lot of years to get a lot of good young prospects, and then you can be good for a lot of years again. So,
yeah, I agree.
Celebrini should help. Celebrini should help the Sharks. Mishkov coming to the Flyers this year should be huge for them, but we'll see. What's kind of cool, and maybe you can get in on this, is one of my buddies from childhood that still plays ice hockey. We're in a fantasy hockey league together since we were like 20. So that's like for 20 years almost. And he used to come out before I got with my girlfriend 12 years ago. He would come out to LA every like winter when the Flyers would do their road trip, and we go see them play the Kings and the Ducks. Well, this year they're playing the Ducks, the Kings, and the Sharks. And we're going to go up to San Jose and watch them play the Sharks. So
the Shark Tank is awesome. It is awesome.
Yeah, December, I think it might be New Year's Eve is when that game is. I think December 30th or 31st.
Right. I used to be able to get these like at least partial season tickets very, very cheap. And there's a parking garage about 9 blocks away from the Shark Tank that's always open at about 7 o'clock or earlier for free. You park in there, you hop on one of the bird scooters, and you take the bird scooter down to the Britannia Arms, go in, have dinner and drinks with all the Sharks fans, and then you can pop back on your bird scooter, and you ride it to the Shark Tank, park it in front of the Shark Tank. Now, you've paid like $11 max for parking, you know what I mean, in downtown San Jose, right? And you've got to hang out with all the Sharks fans or Flyers fans or whoever is there, and you make a really cheap night of going to the Shark Tank, dude. It really is, for such a great, fun time. It's pretty cheap. Josh, let's talk a little bit about Goliath, man. I watched this thing today. I believe that you have surpassed Leonardo Joni, Dick Quindale, all these great offensive comics. There is this renaissance of great offensive comedy coming back, but your special Goliath is definitely among the top of the offensive comedies I've seen. That includes Dave Smith and all the greats, right? What was it for you? I mean, I know that you were canceled in 2018. You worked with the Food Network. You've been canceled. You really kind of got to this point where I think you just didn't give a fuck anymore, which I applaud. But what was it? Was there anything else besides being canceled that kind of took you to the point where you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do comedy the way I want to do fucking comedy. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, yeah, it actually started like 5 years before that. And a lot of people don't know the story, but I had worked like corporate gigs for a long time. And I come from the Midwest as well. I lived there for 11 years in Minneapolis, and I was working for Crocs Shoes. And then, they had offered me an opportunity to transfer to LA in 2012. So I moved here, 2009. And I moved here in 2009 to Los Angeles and took the market over there. And then I left that company and went to work with one of my old bosses at Crocs in private equity. And we ran Sean John's stores for a little while. And then I went out and got recruited by this finance company in 2013. And then about 90 days into that, I blew the whistle on something they were doing illegally. They weren't giving spousal benefits to non-married spouses, which was illegal in California. And then like a week after I brought that up, they fired me and blamed my comedy. And obviously that was sort of like a scapegoat thing. And I went and got a lawyer and sued them, and we ended up settling about almost 2 years later. But But at that moment, it was like, okay, man, do you want to keep trying to live in both worlds, you know, in the corporate world and making good money and being comfortable? Or do you really want to make a go at this comedy thing? And so I made the decision in 2013 to just like start driving Uber and doing side jobs and whatever I had to do to make it work. And then just sunk everything like full time into comedy. When I settled that lawsuit, I took that money and dumped it into doing comedy and doing podcasting. And then the Food Network thing came along in 2015. So, you know, it was kind of like, we got into a huge thing with people on X this weekend about anonymity and why it's bad for free speech. And a lot of people argued that against us because they're like, well, look at the history of America, like things like the Federalist Papers. And, you know, we needed anonymity to help the free flow of ideas. But the problem is, you know, now you've got, we live in a society today where unless you're willing to step out and speak out and be uncomfortable, nothing is ever going to change for the better in the country. So when I got to that point of realizing like, hey man, this is my life now, it's sort of like, well, what incentive do I have to self-censor in any way now? Like I'm on my own. So there's no masters to serve, so to speak. So I might as well just attack comedy in the most honest way possible.
I agree. And one of my other favorite comics right now, and I hate saying this because she's a woman, but Leonardo Jones.
Yeah, she's a friend. I love the shit out of her. She's great.
It's hard for me to say that a woman's funny, but there are a few of you that are still funny.
She's incredible.
Yeah,
by the way, that's why other women comics hate her, is because there's a reason why women are not funny, and it's because women have this idea that they have to present an idea of something that's funny. Like, this is also why entertainment sucks today, is because women have become the senior executives at all these companies. But women believe in the creation of art for an audience, right? So like if you open a woman's notebook, most female comedians, it'll literally tell you the audience they're trying to get by how they write their material and what they're looking for. And they do it sort of with the intention of acquiring a specific audience versus like the Rick Rubin mindset of make your art, do your thing, and whatever fucking audience ends up liking it will come over eventually. And Leonardo is one of the only women who get that and is actually genuinely herself. Like, she's not a character. Right. That is who she is in real life. And when you hang out with her, it's no different than the comedian you go see in the club or the woman who tweets on Twitter wild shit all day. So, and that's the secret sauce that I think makes a lot of women unfunny, is because they're trying to win and they're not trying to be themselves.
Right. I agree. And it's funny because, you know, I constantly get accused of being a grifter. I'm sure you've gotten that accusation before. Oh, yeah. They obviously, anybody who says the truth or is not afraid to be themselves. And I talk a lot about this on the show, that we're going to have to be brave. It's the only way. And what you just brought up, I mean, exactly is my thought is we're going to have to be brave as ourselves if we're ever going to want anything to change. You're right. Anonymity is not going to help us change those things. It's just going to make us look like we want to keep our truth, our honest truth, in the dark. But she posted, yes, I'm grifting, me using a real name and face, who instead of riding the wave of diversity to a Netflix special says things that make people want to kill me. Things that cost me work, friends, and family. Yes, I'm grifting. And you, anonymous PFP, figured it out. Dumbass.
Yeah, she's great. She's got some real great perspective, and it reminds me of a comedian. There's a comedian I used to be really good friends with here in LA, used to go by Joe Dash, now goes by Josephina Dash, who is a trans comedian now, and I haven't spoken to, I guess, her since her transition. It's kind of funny because we joked when he was just a gay guy. We joked. I was like, "Hey man, you just take that extra step and cut your dick off and put on a wig. You could be huge." And then now he's trying it. So I was like, "Boy, sounds like I talked him into it." But I mean, but he used to have a great joke where he's like, I'm one of those gays where people don't believe I'm gay and they think I made it up. And I go, yeah, it's just a lie I tell to make my life easier.
Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, that's what it's like being a base conservative now. It's like grifting. You mean making my life as hard as fucking possible for the sake of making no money?
Especially in the libertarian world, it's like, you're a grifter. Where's the fucking money?
Yeah, where's my money?
Yeah,
there's no money in the libertarian politics whatsoever.
Yeah, and this is the problem with like us, us sort of libertarian conservatives, is that you know, if you ever go against your own party, now you're a terrible grifter, because I know, and this is one of the things I really like feel with Dave Smith. And I don't know Dave, we've never met, but I like when he says this, I'm like, oh, it's so true. It's like, I know there are opinions I could tout and things I could say that would accumulate more and more fan base on the right. And if I don't believe it, I just can't do it. That would be no different than playing to the left and what they want to hear.
Yeah,
so
we
if
call
I
that
disagree
autism.
with things, yeah,
Yeah, Ryan.
yeah, there are
Ryan
things that I don't
speak
believe
from
in, I just can't.
experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to be rude, but I was like, sounds like it's coming from a place of knowledge.
It's okay. I wouldn't understand if you were being rude.
So this special, you know, is sort of like an embodiment of the last 10 years, not just of my career as a comedian, but of my life, of like, you know, going through all these things, having a top news show on the Food Network and on cable, and everybody wants a piece of you and everybody wants to work with you. And then you sort of get kicked out for being yourself on the internet too much. And then having to figure out how to turn that into some kind of career. And I don't know that I've done it yet, but I know with Goliath, I put out something that I'm really proud of and I think is really, really strong. And I would put it up against any other special that's come out this year on any platform.
And it's fucking hilarious, dude. If you guys haven't watched it, and the cool thing is you were able to upload it right to Twitter, dude. I fucking love that we can watch full comedy stand-up specials right on Twitter now. It doesn't matter how offensive they are. They're fucking hilarious. And look, I was talking about this the other day. You guys remember when racism used to be cool? You remember that?
Josh, this is the fourth time you've given
I'm
remember
serious.
when racism used to be cool
I'm serious.
speech?
Remember when racism used to be cool? It used to be fun. Like, we used to sit around, and I say it on every show, and I'll keep saying it. Life was much better for everybody, and society worked and functioned much better when my friends group, who of 20 people or whatever, that was absolutely, I'm from Oakland, California, okay? It was absolutely diverse. We would stand around and tell racist your mama jokes to each other every day at school, dude. And we had a fucking blast, and we loved each other, and we would have died for each other. Okay, guaranteed, no doubt about it. It didn't matter how offensive the things we said to each other were. We were having a good time, and we were able to go out and really be best friends because we were able to say whatever we wanted. We didn't have to play this fucking character in person. And now those people that I grew up with are the least racist people that I truly know. They're still telling racist jokes, but they're the least racist people in their everyday life. The people that I know that became these anti-racists are the ones who I know were the most racist people that I grew up with. The white women that actually clutch their purse when a black dude walks by. They're the ones touting anti-racism on my Facebook feed, right? And like, society was just better when people laughed at shit and laughed at, because like half the time you get accused of racism for bringing up stereotypes, and the stereotypes exist for a reason. They're there because it's a stereotype that actually happens. It's reality. And if you can't laugh at that shit, then your life sucks. It fucking sucks, dude.
If you can't laugh at shit, life just sucks.
Yeah, that like, too.
That's almost immediately how I can identify people who are going to be allies in life or not, whether or not you can laugh at things.
Well, let me tell you, this new comedy special, Goliath, by Josh Denny, nobody's safe. Okay, goes after everybody. He goes after the whites, the blacks, the Asians, the trans, the gay, the depressed, the anxious, and it's probably the best cutoff ending placement I've ever seen in my entire life. And it really struck a chord with me as someone who, every time I bring up Israel on the show, somehow our stream goes down. And it was like it ended with the Jews, and then just click, it was over. Went to the credits. But if you haven't seen it, you'd understand what I'm talking about. It was the best placement of a cutoff ending that I've ever seen, ever, in any comedy special ever. Was there anybody that you were afraid to go after in that? I mean, it doesn't seem like it, but was there anybody?
No, as a matter of fact, and there's a fun, I'm working on like a little, I'm working on obviously some clips to put out that are funny, but one of the things is like about a week or 2 weeks before the special came out, and I don't know if Leonardo got in the mix on this too, but you remember when the Lily Gaddis chick was going viral, and then I sort of like retweeted her story and was just like, my nigga. And then a bunch of black people freaked the fuck out. We're just like, y'all whites would never do this in front of us. Well, there were a ton of black people at the special, and a ton, I would say. It's like probably a dozen out of the 100 people that were there. Huh?
It was in Torrance, right?
Yeah, Torrance, California. So there's probably like 12, you know, and my girlfriend who was
13% of the crowd.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So my girl. So this is the thing. My girlfriend does a ton of Hollywood events, and we always joke that she's the ambassador to Black Hollywood. Like she knows every Black celebrity. She could pick somebody. Like she is the biggest. Like and it's just sort of how it worked out. Like she's Middle Eastern, but she just like works a lot of the Black entertainment events, knows a lot of Black entertainers and producers and everything else. So there were a lot of those people there too. And what was funny is like even my Black comic friend Raj was just like, "Hey man, are you doing the normal shit?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's just like, "Oh man, I can't wait to see how they react." And there was like a group of like 3 Black lesbians that got up and walked out in the middle of the purse joke. But overwhelmingly the response from Black people, from everybody I touch on, like a bunch of my Black fans jumped into my DMs when it released and they go, "Dude, that shit about the purses and that shit about, you know, Black dudes being called faggot," he's like, "that is so real, and you would only know about that if you really have Black friends."
No, and that's the thing too, is I grew up in Oakland. As soon as the faggot joke really resonated with me too, because I'll tell you, there's one thing that the Black community hates, it's gay people, dude.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So bad, dude.
100%, dude. 100%. And honestly, that's why the Black women walked out. They didn't walk out because I said the N-word. They walked out because they hated how many other Black people and everyone in the audience was laughing at the understanding that Black people are way more homophobic than they care about white people saying the N-word.
Than any community in the United States. It's not even close, dude. It's not even close.
It's not even close. I mean, there are like videos of, I don't know if you've ever seen this video where they like blindfold a Black dude and he's eating different foods and then somebody shoves a giant cucumber in his mouth, and as they take the blindfold off, his boy starts looking like he's zipping up his pants.
Oh,
and like I've never sucked a dick, but I definitely know it's not the firmness and consistency of a cucumber. So I would immediately be like, "Well, that wasn't a dick. What did you guys do to me? That's funny." He just gets up and starts beating the shit out of his boy at the mere thought that he might have put his dick in his mouth.
Yeah, even just making a joke about it. Yeah,
and it's just like, dude, and so the level of violence, like I've seen Black dudes ready to kill each other over accusations of being gay, whereas like white guys will be like, "Yo, look at my boy Denny, he's a faggot." I'm like, "Really?" You know, like we'll play into it, and we'll have fun. That is not on Black people's radar at all.
No,
you know, so it's like
absolutely insane, dude. Like
and so much of like, and I don't remember if we talked about this, Josh, on one of the last shows, but like you lived in Oakland. Now I think you live somewhere in the Midwest.
Iowa, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I grew up in Philly and then moved to Minnesota in high school. And my story's the same as yours, dude. When I lived in Philly, we would say the most horrendous racist shit to each other. And not just like black and white, but like Irish, Italian, German, Jewish, you name it.
You got the specific white racism.
Yeah, and it was sort of, it was all out of love. It was all like, well, this is just how we talk to each other. And I moved to Minnesota and nobody said bad words, but they were 10 times racist.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I have this bit that got cut from the special where I go, I love the way that Midwestern people say the N-word, because they basically will be like, "Oh, have you seen that Jamal there? Oh, he's something." and you're like, "Oh yeah," and they're like, "Yeah, but his brother Luther, oh, he's something else." And you're just like, "Oh wow," so like that's GA and the hard ER for Midwestern people, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, and so you can be vociferously racist in the most horrendous way and never say the wrong words. And you know what I think is going to have to fix culture in America is, one, I think white people have to stop being pussies about being called racist, because if noticing and calling out shitty black culture and shitty black behavior makes you racist, how are you ever going to get black people to do it and police it within their own communities if white people are too pussyfooting around it all the time?
Well, and it's so, like, and it's always brought up, well, there's bad things in white culture too. And it's like, yeah, dude, but we're all about fucking policing that shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I'm not Catholic, right? I'm not Catholic. I'm more Orthodox these days. I still go to, Protestant church, but if I found out that someone at my own church was molesting somebody or being some violent thug or whatever, anything. I'm gonna be the first one to be like, yo, bitch, get the fuck out of our church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that that's an important distinction, and I think that if you can do that for your own community, you should be able to call it out for any community. It doesn't fucking matter. And I think that's the least racist thing about this situation is the fact that we're willing to call out any race for any bad behavior in their communities. And really that's anti-racism, dude. We are the anti-racists.
Well, community used to be about proximity, not about identity politics. Your community was your neighborhood, or like you said, your church or whatever, the guys you went to work with. And now, because we've become so siloed with identitarianism, our communities are based on these ideas, not on mutually agreed upon values or standards for the people who live around us.
Right.
And that's, if we're gonna get America back to the place we all want it to be, it's gonna have to be around building communities, and then you're gonna have to be uncomfortable. You're gonna have to sit down with your black neighbor and go, "Hey, man, what the fuck is with the dudes on your lawn until 2:00 in the morning, man? I can't have my kids are trying to go to fucking sleep so they can get up and go to school. You can't be doing that shit." But white people are so afraid to police black behavior, and as I mentioned in the special, this sort of started with O.J. Simpson's trial in the 90s, where it was like, hey, did a guy say the N-word? Well, then we have to let this guy off with murder. And we're all like, no. They're not the same kind of crime. And it was like this liberal response to it of like, no, we have to make them equal. So now we live in a society where black people think that the usage of that word gives them a permission slip to do whatever kind of violence they want. And, that is not a proper foundation for a civilized society. It's a fucking barbaric emotional response to a fucking word that you're not really offended by. And the only way that kind of shit stops is if white people say, enough. I'm not having it. I will say whatever I want, and you will fucking control yourself like a civilized person, like I would be expected to do if you called me a cracker or a faggot.
Yeah, well, and I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, man, I actually get excited when I hear like new slurs for white people, dude.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's like one of my favorite things to do. Like, there's some really great ones out there, like yogurt yeti and cockroach, and like all these great slurs.
Cockroach is good. I've never heard that one.
Mayo monkey is one of my favorites.
Mayo monkey is one of my favorites.
Oh, that's a classic.
And so you don't offend me when you say these words, but then they always bring up like power dynamics and all this shit, and I'm just like, dude,
that's all
bullshit now.
It's all Marxism.
Yeah, we get it. You got a fucking liberal arts degree and you're a midwit. We get it.
Yeah. I just think that there's better things to get offended over. You know what I mean?
And that's what I think is so. It's almost like archaic. I call it. I've started calling it yarmulke scalping. The problem with Jew hunting now is that the cultural Marxism that a lot of people attribute to Judaism is, as Gavin McInnes calls them, ginos, Jews in name only, is now going to live on through the Ivy League and upper level academia educated black women. And if you start to look at all these companies, majority of C-suite jobs, CFO, CEO, director of this, director of that, is all going to black women who are continuing on these ideas of like equality of outcome is the desired goal in everything that we do. And so by the time people start to get comfortable with the idea that Jews are behind this, they'll no longer be behind it. And it will be the Kamala Harrises of the world at your job, at your company, on committees, sitting on boards of directors, making these decisions in that image.
Yeah, we all know how good women are at making decisions.
They're just fantastic.
Just amazing, dude. Go ask your wife right now what she wants for dinner and tell me.
Oh, okay. We don't have time. We don't have
that kind of time for sure.
And that's why I really, I really get into women when I'm talking about the retarded in the special of just like, how would we even differentiate, a woman with Down syndrome from the everyday walking around woman if we tested them both equally?
Yeah. What was that? What were some of the examples you used for your own girlfriend in the?
I said if there's hard questions on the test, like, can you microwave tinfoil, or, do you shit alone or do you need help? Like, what percentage of times when you take a shit do you need help with some aspect of it? And then what was the other one that I put in there that stayed in? Can you attach something to? Can you show me on a diagram how to attach something to an email?
Yes, that was great. That was fucking hilarious.
And then there's so I used to open that up to the audience, and then what would happen a lot of times is you get guys who thought they were helping your act by being pussies and being like, well, the most retarded thing she ever did was marry me, and you're like, I'll do the fucking comedy, you dork. You know what I mean? Like. So I stopped.
I know 11 people that would make that same joke, and none of them are funny.
I had to start. Yeah, I just had to start doing it in a way where I'll list off the dumb shit mine does, and then you can come up to me after the show and tell me about the dumb shit yours does.
Yeah, I do want to say, well, and I married an Italian, so she does less dumb shit and more angry shit, which is
I prefer that. You got a Danielle, I love those.
Yeah, the angry shit's a little better than the dumb shit for sure. There's no doubt about it.
It's so funny when we talk about like. Carl, my co-host on Big Uglies, another comic, he was one of my openers for the special.
Yeah, I just started following him. That guy's fucking hilarious too, by the way.
Yeah, dude, he's so funny, and but he gives me shit all the time because like where I grew up in Philly, like the idea of who I married was always going to be like some slightly overweight, dark-haired girl whose father owned a pizza parlor, and he's like, your biggest fantasy is a chick in khakis and a flower-covered black polo. Just like, what is your fucking problem? And I go, oh, dude, stop! I'm gonna come. You know what I mean? Like,
he's from New York.
That's like
right?
That's what I always thought I would end. Yeah, he's a New Yorker,
that's right.
and then lived with his parents in Florida when they were retired. But I, growing up outside of Philly, I always thought that was my future was a ball breaking Italian wife. And then I ended up with this very sweet Middle Eastern woman, and that's not really their thing either. They're pretty cold and shitty and bitter, and some of that comes out a little bit, but she's maybe the nicest one who's ever been made by God.
They will also stab you in your sleep, just like Italians, though. I promise.
Yeah. But we joke like her mother's like the quintessential cold Middle Eastern woman who's always like, oh, look at that, this man kill himself, oh, how unfortunate. Like did you guys see the video of the guy being eaten alive by a shark?
Yes.
And there was like music playing. Well, that woman is clearly Iranian who's going, oh my God. Like where there's no actual emotional reaction. She's just saying, oh my God, in a performative way while she's watching it happen in front of her.
Oh, you got yourself a Persian. A Persian.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, that is them to a T when she's just like, oh my God, what is happened? Someone do something.
So funny.
Doesn't give a shit at all.
Funny story. I lived in Portland, Oregon for 7 years. I try not to claim it too much, just because Portland sucks. The rest of Oregon's fucking gorgeous, amazing, beautiful. Portland is just, it's gone, it's lost cause. But when I lived there, when I first moved there and I was putting myself through college, I worked at a place called Shiraz, which was a high end, like super high end in the art district, the Pearl district, Persian food restaurant. And I was the bar manager and head server and all these things. And I ended up you had to serve the khorma sabzi and kubide kebabs and fucking chicken shawarma and all that stuff. But
what's the other one I always God, I can't remember.
Tzatziki is the fucking rice that they like burn the bottom of. It gets all crunchy.
Yeah, tadik, and then what's the one that's Persian? What is it? French fries. It's like French fry soup. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
What is that called? Khoresh game. Yeah.
Gay men?
No, and they made this really good fucking lamb shank kind of stew shit too. I mean, there was so much good food. I can't remember all day, but I like really inserted myself into like the Persian culture in the area in Oregon. I had a Persian woman roommate. I hung out with Persian people all the fucking time. I went to all the Persian parties, which were covered in just food everywhere, fucking food everywhere.
Oh,
yeah. Some of the best
food. They'll push food on you and then call you fat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They will call you fat. Yeah, absolutely, dude. No doubt.
Yeah.
But Persian people are
cake
cool.
or ice cream with dinner after, and you're eating it, and they're just like, so, like, what is clothes shopping like for you? Is it impossible?
This is America. XL is the standard. Come on.
No, it's so true, dude. Like, Persian people are fucking. You know what's cool? They're cool as shit, though. They like. Iran's got this fucking terrible stigma about it because we went in and fucking ran a coup on their prime minister in the 1950s with Britain, and so of course we have to demonize.
if Islam had never overthrown the Shah, like I love the way that Gavin says this, where he's like, dude, if you look at Iran in the 60s, it was like the Jetsons. And Iran might have been our technology partner over Japan today if Islam didn't bomb them back into the Stone Age from within.
Well, it's that, and the coup that we ran in the 50s, because they had their first democratically elected prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, in the 50s, decided to nationalize the oil, refused to sell it for pennies on the dollar to Britain and America, and we ran a coup and got him removed and reinstalled the Shah. Prior to that, if you look at the 50s, and I probably say it on the show once a week or once a month, but if you look at Iran in the 50s, there's fucking like neon signs up. The men were wearing like zoot suits and fucking sick fedora. The women were in like awesome fucking like dinner dresses and shit. It was gorgeous. There was Chevy Bel Airs all over the place. It looked like it was westernizing, and then we went in and fucked it up because we wanted cheap oil, dude. That's the absolutely what happened. There's no doubt. And then of course Islam as well. We're like, oh, you guys can't go over there and have all this Western fun in this place, you know what I mean?
I'm just imagining Iranian anime right now.
Yeah, that's because you're gay, dude.
It would be so dark. It would just be all morbid, the most morbid shit you've ever seen. There would be no fun. Like so much about anime is like fun, and that would just imagine anime without any fun.
Yeah. Just like boring, unfun anime, dude. That's
it would be like if somebody did an anime.
That might get Ryan off, to be honest with you.
I mean, I've watched some pretty unfun anime. Like Tokyo Ghoul is not fun. It is a dark show, but
hour, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
No autism about.
It's about cannibalism.
We can't do it right now, dude. It's fucking. Listen, I know you love your anime.
I do.
And your XX Tension and whatever really gay shit you're into, probably collecting Funko Pop dolls or something.
Oh God, no, not Funko Pops.
Yeah,
I'm not an NPC.
Okay, all right.
I'm not an NPC. I think for myself.
You're not like
I have weird taste. I'm not a fucking consumer.
A consumer?
Yeah.
A consumer?
Yeah. Well, it's weird internet, like 4chan nomenclature for someone who really makes their entire Sonic. Personality about consuming.
Really like Sonic and their mother a lot.
Yeah, one of the things, Josh, that you brought up about the special that I liked was when you talked about the ending, and I'll pull a little bit of the fun back. Like when you're editing a special, you're going through and you're making decisions, because I did like 90 minutes of performance and then cut it down to what I thought was like the best 50 or so. And when it gets to the end, it was like I had stuff where I had like a chunk where I sort of gave like a speech at the end of performing for people about, being yourself and the stuff we're talking about. And it just didn't fit right. And I just loved when I got to the end of that joke, I was like, what if it just what if I just do a Sopranos ending and it just ends? And it just felt like the right creative choice, although I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. And then what's funny is a ton of people will come out and they'll go, man, I love how you ended that on saying the Jews, and it has that Sopranos, like you got whacked ending, because that's pretty much what happens to anybody who mentions the Jews. And it was so like, it was so that I was talking to my director of photography, Scott, and I was like, yeah, I love how when you put out a piece of work, like there are things you do on purpose creatively, and then there are things you do on instinct creatively, and then people will assign a purpose to it.
Oh yeah.
And Scott goes, yeah, dude, he's like, as I always say, tricked him again, And I was like, yeah. So I started making me look at things going like, how many times have I looked at a great film or something like, I love how they did that because of this. And even if you tell the director, he's like, yeah, it's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah,
like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just this inexplicable instinct of like, this feels right. And then people tell you why it felt right. And you go, yeah, no, maybe that is why it felt right.
Well, that's the brothers / sisters or whatever the fuck they are now that made the Matrix.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Wachowskis.
Yeah. They've said several times they've changed like their meaning behind the Matrix like several times. I don't know if you know that. But,
yeah.
And so that's totally, it's just how it
when you
works
first watch it, it's clearly about God and Christianity. Like that's clear. The way I took it, like 100%. And then they cut their dicks off. They got
possessed by the devil, and they're like, no, we can't have it mean that anymore.
Well, yeah, then they went to Chipotle and got the special.
You'd understand that if you've seen Josh Jenny's special. I'm telling you right now, if you've seen the special Goliath, you'd understand the Chipotle joke. I'm just I'm just putting it out there.
It took me a second to remember that.
It was fucking hilarious, dude. I was rolling. I had like a 2-hour drive home from work today, and I literally was just watching it in my truck the whole way home on the freeway, and that shit had me rolling, dude. I wish I would have watched it sooner. Of course, it came out on the 4th. We did a show, and then I've been really busy, so I was happy to be able to have that 57 minutes of time to pay attention to. If you guys haven't seen it, man, it's fucking. I would put it up there with any of the other top like funny offensive comedies that you've seen in the last 10 years. It's absolutely going to be a classic. And if you haven't checked it out, and this is my favorite thing about this, Josh, and I'm gonna put it out there because you've been on the show a couple times now, twice, maybe 3 times. I think we were going to do a 3rd show, and then you got sick. It's back when you had COVID or something. I don't.
Yeah, one of the many times I had it.
Yeah, and so you just come on the show, and we just get fucking power bombed in the chat with like your haters. Like you had the most rabid, like rampant fucking haters I'd ever seen in my life. And I think the first time we had a show, I told you if people make super chats on the show, I read them. I don't care what they say. And you're like, I was like, but these are your haters. So and you're like, dude, read them. I'll stay here all fucking night. Let's do it all night.
Yeah. And take their money.
Yeah, take their money. And they were super chatting like a shit about you being a fucking Uber driver. It was like always this come back to the same joke about you being a fucking Uber driver, which by the way, the gig economy is great. If you have nothing else going on, you can make a ton of fucking money. There's nothing wrong with being a fucking a delivery driver or any of these things. You know what I mean? Like, shit, there was a time when I ran my first campaign in 2017 where I quit my job and did Instacart back when you could make a lot of money doing Instacart. I was making like $1,200 to $1,500 a week doing Instacart when I wanted to, you know what I mean? So it was like, it's not like some bad thing, but now you get to put your special in their face, which I think it's going to go way more viral than it has already. Because you're between all platforms over 1 million views or something like that now. But I think it's going to go way more viral than this. And I think as soon as people really understand how funny it is, it's going to be a huge fuck you to these pieces of shit that used to like follow you around and talk all that.
Oh
shit.
no, that not used to. They're still there. They're still going hard in the paint. I don't know.
I meet these people that got an associate's degree in business and now think they're better than everyone else.
They might have gassed themselves out in the chat of our podcast a couple hours ago. So, they come and go, but their heckles are all the same. Their trolls are all the same. And listen, like I've gone through the wave in my career of like, do I even acknowledge it at all? Do I respond? Whatever. And at one point, and I credit my girlfriend for this, she's like, look, put it in the work. Right. And so to me, what I've said now is like, listen, these guys can yell into the wind and spiral and say all the shit that they want. The special is out there now. So the person who doesn't have a horse in the race on either side can watch the special and decide for themselves. I stand behind the work. I'm proud of the work. I think the quality of what we put out on the budget that we did is really great, and it was a great experience, and I really love it. And listen, like I'm not going to name drop, but there's one comedian in the world that kind of gives it away. There's one comedian in the world who doesn't live in our country who is like my idol of like, whose career do you want? Who would you want to like? What kind of things would you want to do? And he took an interest in me in 2018 when I got canceled and was very supportive in DMs and like, look, man, this is the world we live in now. This is how it's going to go. And you just have to be ready for the fight and just keep going. I sent him the special and said, listen, you're one of the only people in the world whose opinion I would give a shit about. I'd love to know what you think. And it was at like 2 a.m. after I'd done the premiere and I knew where he lives. It was like 10 a.m, 4th of July, which they don't celebrate where he lives. And he just texted me back like 30 minutes later and he goes, loving it so far. Fantastic. And so to get that feedback from that gentleman who is a person whose opinion I very much care about and think is the height of comedy, everyone else's opinion is like, okay, man, like you can think that, but like the people I really like and respect think it's good. Right. And if you need any further validation than that, then, I don't know what to tell you. But it's like, for me, it was, do I feel good about what I put out? And it's tough because Carl and I talked about this. We've been working on this material for 2 years. Like some of these premises I started working on almost 2 years ago. And then the bit, it develops and you add to it and you take things out and you change. Like I mentioned with the retard bit, it used to be a crowd participation bit. I had to stop doing it because it didn't take it where I wanted it to go. And so like you'll take these ideas and you're just molding them or sculpting them over a couple years, and then you put it out. And as soon as you put it out, you're going to go, oh man, I forgot this thing, or I forgot to say this part, or I forgot to add this.
No one's
like,
a bigger
there's a
critic than yourself, man.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I said, dude, by the time I spent 2 months editing this thing, like I probably spent 100 hours editing and deciding and going back and forth. And I fucking hated it when I was like, ugh, I'm so sick of this shit. I'm ready to be done with it, and put it out. And then when you see people responding to it, you go like, oh man, that's great. Like now I'm happy again with it, because people are responding positively. And a lot of the response I've gotten from people has been what I got on the road with Anthony Cumia and Gavin McInnes for the last 2 years. Like, a lot of people only know me from internet podcast bullshit, trolls and other shows talking shit about me as a comedian, or that I'm an Uber driver or whatever. I'm a conservative grifter. And there were young guys who were big Cumia fans or McGinnis fans who would come up to me after I would open those shows and be like, dude, I had no idea you were this good at stand-up. And it's just been that regurgitated after releasing the special, where I'm having people DM me and going, holy fucking shit, dude, I had no idea. Like, this is amazing and this is great. So, like, if you can't feel good about that, then you've got bigger problems and deeper issues with, imposter syndrome or, your self-confidence. But I believed in the material enough to want to spend the money and make this thing and put it out. And it makes me feel really good that a lot of and in so much so that the people that I've made it for, guys like you, who were like, where did my kind of comedy go? Like, I made this from our perspective. Like, I used to want to watch guys that did hours like what I just did. Like, I'm mad that there aren't a lot of guys like that to watch. So
Right.
That's who I'm trying to make a thing for.
Yeah, and there's a renaissance. There's a real renaissance going on. And first of all, I wanted to say, after watching the special, there's no hesitation in your speech. You fucking stood up there and did it like a professional comic, dude. And I don't think that there's anybody out there who can sit there and say he's not a real stand-up comic anymore. It's over. That debate's fucking over. Shut the fuck up. No one believes you.
He's standing up and he's doing comedy.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good. It's funny.
Yeah,
it made me
is.
belly laugh several fucking times. And I'm look. It does take a lot to make me truly laugh like that sometimes, okay? I've seen it all. I've been through it all. When I got a comic that's making me laugh like that, I'm a fan, period, plain and simple. But I don't think anybody can sit there and make the accusation that you're not a comic anymore, or not a professional, or you're an Uber driver, any of that shit anymore. I think it's over. The special ends that. But there is a renaissance. There's a renaissance going on right now. There's way more people that are popping up now, like you and Leonardo and Anthony Cumia and all these people. I mean, there's just so many right now. Sam and Tripoli and people who are actually saying, and I saw Sam Tripoli gave you a shout out on the special as well. But these are people that are doing and saying what they want to without the fear of the repercussion, which is what it's going to take to bring comedy back. Because right now comedy is this like deadpan, don't say anything offensive, or it's gonna hurt people and maybe kill people, and it's violent and it's violence. It's like, that's not how comedy works. Comedy is there to give you a very real situation in a funny way to deal with the darkness of these situations. I mean, you brought up the suicide pods in Canada, and you brought up, Down syndrome. You bring up these really dark things, black people, dark things. And
you already said Down syndrome.
No, but you bring up all these things that are dark issues and get people to laugh about them, so that it brings them, gets them to a point where they can actually think about these things. And that's what comedy was all about. I mean, that's what the greats did, right? I mean, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, anybody, Dave Chappelle does it, right? Like all the people who have been the best at comedy do so by saying what they mean, not by becoming this character. And I just really appreciate that there's this huge renaissance of that right now. And it seems to be a growing sentiment. And I think it's going to help heal a lot of the problems that we have in society today. I just believe that. I do 100%.
Yeah. You don't really excuse me. You don't really set out as a comedian to do that. Again, I think that's where a lot of women go wrong, is that they try to sort of contrive what their work is going to do before they make it. And sometimes you got to just
a lot of sex jokes.
Yeah. And you got to just make, and they do that, by the way, because they think like, well, the predominant audience for comedy is men, and this is what men want to hear. And so rather than think about, is this even what I want to say, they're just writing based off what they think the audience wants and what will give them success. And then there's nothing organic that comes out of that. And so you know, like when I first was coming up, I would get people go, oh, this guy only talks about these things because it's, you know, shock value and he wants to be one of these edgelord comedians. It's like, no, man, this is the way my brain has worked since I was a little kid. Like I always look at the most horrific shit in life and go like, okay, what's funny about this? And that's just that's been my coping mechanism. My whole life is to make jokes about terrible things, and that's the lens through which I see the world. And that's why I think comedy is the right place for me. But, you know, this isn't a thing about like, oh, what is the most offensive thing I can say? Because I really do try to put a lot of personal touch to it. Like that wasn't an embellishment. When I said I've known 12 people that have committed suicide. I think I said over the last year, which is not true. Yeah. Over the last several years. But yeah, 12. I mean, we were counting them yesterday. There's 6 that were just comedians that we know that have committed suicide. And there really is this thing, like it's a real genuine feeling of like, please don't call me. I'll tell you what I think. Like, it's like, I'm not gonna, like, if I think it's maybe the right choice, I'll tell you like, well, you know, if you don't feel like you have anything to live for, then who's better to tell you otherwise, you know? Well, so it's like,
it's the honesty factor, right? And I mean,
yeah,
I think your friends probably know, like, well, if I'm feeling this way, probably shouldn't call Josh Denny. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm one of those people that people do call when they're feeling down in the dumps, and I don't know why, but
yeah, you would be like my last fucking choice.
Oh, that's awesome. I wouldn't call you gay if you called me and talked about your.
No, you would call me gay immediately. You'd go, dude, that's gay.
No, I would tell you to stop being a bitch. Put your shoes on, come over, let's drink some beers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good friend. You know what I mean? Like, but honestly, the sentiment of that came more. I did have a friend call me very suicidal, and she was like bawling and crazy, but it was also about like very surface level dumb shit. And I was like, okay, you're fucking being annoying with this. But it was more based on an experience I had in 2014 while I was Uber driving. I picked this couple up at a bar, like at bar close at 2:00, and I drove them to this house party in Mount Olympus, which is a little area just like north of Hollywood. And it's like there was like a CAA industry party happening at this house and a bunch of people on the lawn. And this couple was like, hey, let the meter run. We're going to run inside, check the party out. If we're going to stay, we'll text you and tell you to end the ride and go home. If not, we're going to come back out and we'll just leave. I go, okay, cool. I'll hang out. It's the end of the night. Like, it's not like there's going to be more rides. It's the night's over. It's like 2:30 now. So I just sit in the front, and this couple, well, it looks like a couple, walk out to this van that's parked in front of me in the house. And the woman gets in the driver's seat, and the guy's like chatting her up in her, you know, like next to where the driver's seat is, the door is open. So he's like standing by the open door, and she's in the driver's seat, like turns the engine on, everything. And I'm reading an article on my phone while I wait. And all of a sudden I hear the horn blare, and I see his legs like dangling out of the thing. And the woman is screaming, and she she's like leans over him and looks out of the thing and makes eye contact with me. And I'm like, okay, I got to go get involved in whatever this is, right? Unwillingly. And I run up there, and I think the guy's ODing or having a heart attack. I get up there, and he had pulled, his pants are down. He's trying to rape this woman.
Oh, geez.
So I immediately just sort of, not that a fat guy like me springs into action, but I immediately like, all right, I go to pull him off. He's clearly on some kind of, you know, drugs that are giving him extra strength, because this guy was probably 180 pounds, 6'3", taller than me, but real lean. And I went to pull him off, and he shrugged me. And I was like, okay. So then I like kick him in the back of the knee. I jump on him and put him in a rear naked choke. And the weight of my body pulls him back, and we fall on the ground. His head smacks. She peels away in the car, comes back down the mountain. And the guy, like, I thought I fucking killed him. Like, I fell on him. I heard his head hit. It was like a coconut cracking. And I was like, I was waiting for there to be a pool of blood. There wasn't. He's out for a minute. And she comes back. The people on the fucking lawn are just like clapping.
Oh,
and I'm like, yo, you guys, nobody else, like, you let Ginger Kevin Smith be the guy who had to save the fucking day. And I remember thinking in that moment of like, oh, now I understand why when somebody does something heroic, heroic on the news, they never look like they feel good about it. And it's like, yeah, because I didn't choose to do this. Like, I was just forced into a situation and then just reacted. And so I didn't decide to do something heroic. I just helped when somebody needed help, and it ended up being something that other people might perceive as heroic or special, but you're sort of like, yeah, but the guy also could have had a gun and I could have got shot, and I feel stupid for putting myself in harm's way like that. So you're going through this mixture of emotions that are not like the right way to feel about what you did or how you responded. And what was crazy about that story is, the guy gets up, he realizes like, oh shit, and he runs away. And then I ended up, I was like, okay, my night's over. Like the woman, she had the police on the phone, and they were like, listen, if the guy's gone now, we're not coming out. And I go like, this dude tried to rape this woman. Somebody in this party has to know who the fuck this guy was. And they're like, yeah, we're not coming out to that address. So I end up having this dude who looked like Jason Biggs from American Pie come up to my car. It wasn't him, but it come up to my car and go, hey man, are you leaving? Cause I can't get reception up here. If I could just jump in your Uber and leave, like, then that'd be great. I'll pay you. And I was like, yeah, dude, hop in. I'll take you where you're going. He tells me that the guy who did this to this woman has a reputation for this. And it turns out that he is the very famous brother of a very famous actor whose father was also a famous actor who just passed away last month. And because this guy has this powerful position at the top of CAA in the accounting side, that nobody was going to intervene or do anything. And I go, oh shit. So it was like my first exposure. And honestly, my reaction in that moment to doing what I did was like, my girlfriend goes to parties like this all the time. I would hope if somebody put her in this position, somebody would fucking do something, And so it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm a badass. And I wrote a whole story about it on my website at the time. And I said, like, there's sort of a shame you feel because of your reluctance, because you're like, I should be charging into this and going like, this is the right thing to do, but you don't necessarily feel that way right away. And so it's the same thing when you get that call if somebody wants to kill themselves. Your initial reaction is like, I don't know that I'm the person to be talking to right now. I don't know that I'm the person that's going to steer you in the right direction because, I don't have my shit together enough to be coaching anybody on whether or not to stay alive,
I do.
So it was this very humbling experience.
I'm going back to the story now. Now I was like racking my brain for actors with fathers that acted and brothers, and I got it. But
yeah.
Now I'm wondering which brother it is though, because I think there's multiple brothers.
It's the one who is head of accounting or whatever for an agency. So it's not hard to find.
I'll look that up and find it out. I think
it's a father who just passed away, and then he has 3 sons, I believe.
4.
And hold on. So the party, the host of the party was the head of accounting brother, and it wasn't the actor. So it tells you it was the other one. And everybody was like, yeah, he's protected. So that's probably why the cops didn't even come up to this address. And I was like, oh. And then of course the Weinstein shit happens years later, and you go like, yeah, I have firsthand experience. And there are certain people in this city who have a name and money and a reputation where the police aren't even, it's like reminds me of growing up on the East Coast where with the mob, where it was like, listen, there are some houses they don't go out to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or you live in Oakland where they just don't patrol anymore. They're done. They gave up. East Oakland, They don't go there. They're done.
Yeah, no, I mean that place is. I have a friend that lives up there who tries to do humanitarian work, and she's like the kind of liberal hippie that we grew up liking, where you're just like, oh, she's just so naive and good that she has no idea that she's like in the lion's den every day with these fucking animals that'll kill her if they look at her the wrong way. And she's just like trying to help. And I feel, I have like all the time, I'm like her cynic friend who's like, get the fuck out of there. They're going to murder you at some point. And she just has the biggest heart. She's just always trying to do good. She's like, her Instagram will be pictures of her doing like face paints, while guys shoot heroin over a barrel fire behind her. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, man. There's a level of good. There's a level of good that's dangerous.
Well, that's my brother. And even not just good, but just living in certain places. My brother was a longtime marijuana farmer in his house in the East Bay area. And I was like, bro, you're gonna get fucking killed, dude. Like, it's time. You gotta get out of there, bro. Like, you can't have your whole shop set up right there in like a random ass neighborhood in that area, bro. You're not gonna make it. And then he had cameras on the front of his house, and he was passing around this video for a while where these three dudes were trying to crowbar their way into his fucking like security door while he was home in the middle of the night in ski masks and shit. And I'm like, dude, it's time to move, bro. It's time to fucking go and get the fuck out of there. And he finally did. Thank God he moved in the mountains. But he's out of the weed game now and does other stuff. But dude, it's like at some point in life, you have to realize that some of these places that you may have grown up in that you thought were cool are just done. They're gone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm from Oakland and I loved San Francisco. Gavin Newsom fucked that up. It's done. It's over. It's never coming back. And now he's fucking up the whole state of California. That's why I moved to Iowa. I mean, at that point, I was like, that's right. 2020 is when I left, dude. I was like, I'm not fucking doing this. I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. I'm out of here. I got to go to the middle of the country where people are like, I don't have to worry about Californians moving here because they're never doing -20 in the winter, dude. They're just not coming.
No.
It's not happening.
No, that's so true.
I've been sitting on this thought since like the suicide topic started.
Okay,
it's about the women in comedy bit.
Yeah.
And about like them talking about sex. I don't think
women do one comedy special without talking about your vagina.
Well, I don't think
it's possible.
I don't think like the weird part is like women specifically talking about sex. I think it just matters which side of the dick you're on. Because I think a gay guy talking about like, oh, I was blowing this dude the other day would be just as fucking uncomfortable as a woman saying it.
No, well, and here's the thing:
I think it's way more absurd because it's just hilariously like I'm not homophobic at all because I think it's just hilariously unnatural. So when like gay guys talk about it, it's silly to me because it's absurd. You know what I mean? And so I don't like. I don't think of it in a real intimate way to where it makes me uncomfortable at the idea of it. Whereas I do believe that those are intimate acts for women, and so then I think that is why it sort of makes you uncomfortable. But it's really about authenticity. I think the reason it doesn't work for women is because that's not authentically who they are, what they really want to talk about. And that comes through. Like, there are great female comedians like Maria Bamford, I think, is one of the best of all time. And she doesn't talk about like the things that she thinks the audience wants to talk about. I mean, she talks about herself and some of her craziest things. And that's what makes her interesting. Like the reality is most women just aren't interesting.
Well, yeah. and then like through the 2000s, it seemed like every new woman comic just wanted to be like Lisa Lampanelli, dude. And I'm like, this is fucking horrendous, dude. Like, I don't want to hear any more jokes about your fucking vagina and black wieners, dude. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it's not funny. I'm not laughing. You're not getting like new dudes that enjoy. What you're doing is you're getting a very small subsect of women that are laughing at you, and for some reason, that makes you a lot more money than WNBA players. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
That's because women actually like watch comedy. There are some women that watch the WNBA now, but they're all from Iowa, and they're all fans of Caitlin Clark.
Say thank you, Caitlin Clark. Say thank you.
My mom and grandparents were discussing the WNBA this weekend. It was the strangest thing. My mom has only like followed sports so she could discuss it with her ex-husband and her children. And now like her and her parents are legitimately invested in
Here's the thing that I don't get.
It's so weird.
Here's the thing that I don't get, but I guess I do kind of get it because this is how when women self-sabotage other women all the fucking time. It's like part of it's like a constant fucking game for women. They have to like one up each other.
Mulaney has the best joke about that where he says there could never be, and it's funny, he did this I think before they released an Ocean's 8. But he goes, you could never have like a heist movie with women because two of them would keep breaking away to talk shit about the other 9.
Yes, it's exactly. Well, and so you finally have this woman like that's basically like becoming the Jordan of the WNBA. Yes, she's white and she's never going to be as good as Jordan. In fact, she'd probably
they're gonna make all of us want to spite fuck her. Like they're eventually Caitlin Clark is gonna be regarded as the hottest female athlete, not because it's so, but because they want
the bar's so low.
They hate on her. They hate on her so much that guys are going to start to be like, she is the hottest.
She looks like a fucking founding father, first of all. But second of all, so here's the thing.
She does have resting George Washington
Dude,
face. You're so right.
Like if she had horse teeth, you wouldn't know the difference, bro. I mean, it's you know what I mean. But here's the thing, like fucking, she is single-handedly getting the salary caps raised in the WNBA, and these women hate her, fucking hate her. She's like making your sport and your pay higher. Yeah. She's literally making it so all the rookies that come after you are gonna get fucking paid finally. And
they only hate her because she's white. They only hate her because she's white.
Well, and the thing is like, you guys are getting fucking highlights on ESPN now. I watch ESPN. They never talk about the WNBA. Now there's fucking highlights every single day about the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. And you're mad at that? She is your Jordan, and you're mad at that? And I don't mean look, I firmly believe that I will fucking absolutely 100% in one-on-one beat Caitlin Clark. Okay, I believe that. I know you don't, but I do.
You wouldn't.
Okay, I believe that any college fucking second string player off the bench could beat Caitlin Clark, male. Okay,
it'd be close.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't even be close.
Caitlin is actually really fucking good.
High school, okay, off the bench.
No.
Yes. Now,
Caitlin would kick my ass, and I could beat most college players or most high school players.
We'll see.
I would kick your ass at basketball. We'll make this happen on
video one of these days, okay? But so here's the thing. But she's the WNBA's Jordan. She's the one that's getting them the fucking, like, look, before Jordan, did everybody have like fucking Nike super deals? No, they didn't. Jordan did that for people, and Caitlin Clark's doing that for you, and you're bitching about it. You're making a scene about it. You're literally fucking clotheslining her on the fucking court. Plain as day, clotheslining her, and for what? Because she's white and she got a higher rookie contract than somebody else that wasn't as good as her. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Shut up.
Yeah, and they're making it sound like black players are trying to make it sound like the only reason anybody cares about the WNBA now is because a white girl is good at it, and it's like,
no,
maybe
they care because but someone's finally good at it.
Yes, and she's also undeniably better than everybody else. Like she's the first player ever as a rookie to score a triple-double in a rookie season.
That's common knowledge now.
Yes.
You realize
I don't know shit about
a year
basketball.
ago nobody would have given a shit if any other rookie would have done that?
No, not
right. So, it's like it's insane her level of her rise to fame, and it is because it's unusual. Right. And so it's hilarious to me that in a time where black women will go on their ESPN sports shows and say, diversity and inclusion is critical to fixing America. Here comes along a white girl who played at Iowa, who's the best female basketball player ever. Not what you expected or maybe wanted, but isn't diversity and inclusion embracing that? And they just can't, because it's never been about diversity. It's been about black supremacy. And that was the goal all along. So, it is exposing
LGBTQ supremacy.
Yeah, it's exposed. Yeah. And by the way, if it comes out she's heterosexual, if you think she's hated now, wait till she's the first one who sucks dick too.
Doesn't she have a boyfriend?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So that's even part of it, because she's like, I'm the only one who's not married to a teammate.
Yeah, no shit. No shit, dude. Well, we are getting closer to the end of this thing, but I want to talk about a couple things before we go. Trump is supposedly picking his VP right now. I don't know if it's right now or he's going to announce it tonight. This is going to be interesting, because I called Nikki Haley some time ago. And I was hoping that by being loud and about this Nikki Haley thing, that it would make this, Nikki Amarata Haley lady go away. I was hoping we could start a loud enough movement that Trump would hear, like, hey, probably shouldn't pick Nikki Haley because she's a fucking horrendous warhawk neocon, and that's exactly what people hated about your presidency, is that you immediately put John Bolton in your campaign. So let's change things up and go somewhere else. And unfortunately, the only words of mine that have ever made it to the ears of Donald Trump, and this is true, this just happened, was that I wanted to have him arrested and put in jail. When I was running for president, I said that I think that most presidents and everybody that was involved in the COVID scam deserves to go to jail. And Tim Cast had Trump on his show at the Libertarian National Convention, said, hey, the Libertarian presidential candidate out there just said he wants to put you in jail. Have you heard about this? So the only words of mine that's ever actually made it directly to Trump's ears were that I wanted him in jail. But I would have liked to make a bigger scene about Nikki. I hope it's not Nikki. We want to see somebody like Vivek. I'm sure that a Trump Vivek ticket would have been absolutely fucking savage. But that's not going to happen either. Josh, you got any predictions on who he might announce?
The guy I thought it was going to be from the very beginning has kind of been the guy who's been riding side saddle with him from the start of this new campaign, which is Byron Donalds. I think that's who he's going to go with. And I think I think it makes sense. He's not as fringe as a Vivek. He's not as neocon as Nikki Haley. He's got the black thing going for him, which I do believe Trump is a little sensitive to. Like, Trump does have that sort of old New Yorker liberal mindset of like, we got to save the blacks. They can't save themselves. We gotta save them. Like, and so I do think in his mind, he's going to go with that because it just sort of checks all the boxes. He's not a known neocon. He's not as fringe as Vivek, where Vivek's like, I'll end the FBI on day one, where guys like us are like, yeah. And regular Americans are like, oh no, we need the FBI. They keep us safe.
Yeah. For all of his flaws, Trump did flip like 17% of the black vote to him. In the polls, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. The fact that I don't think there's ever been a Republican president in my lifetime that has been able to flip such a significant amount of the black vote. Honest to God, I don't think it's ever happened. But we also brought up on the show recently that I don't think that any president vying for a second term has ever gotten more votes in their second election and lost.
Yeah,
that's never happened.
Timcast also brought that up on one episode, and they checked it, and that is true.
So it was true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a president that served a term and ran for a second term, got more votes than they did in their first term and lost. So something's a little fishy there. Who do you think it's going to be, Ryan?
I've been hearing Marco Rubio.
That would be just bizarre to me, dude. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I feel like policy-wise, they're kind of in lockstep. They've both been pretty big border guys for a long time. They're both the
name like Rubio. Whew.
Yeah, but Rubio is like a buttoned up version of Trump.
Sure.
He's the presentable one.
Yeah.
Trump is your drunk cousin.
Our funny drunk cousin.
Yes, funny drunk cousin.
Trump is the funniest president we've ever had.
Oh, absolutely.
Close.
100%.
It's not even close, dude. He's fucking.
I don't know what he said. Quite frankly, I don't think he knows what he said. That was a mic drop moment.
Biden is competing for it.
Oh yeah,
but it's not intentional.
Yeah, but Trump came to the Libertarian National Convention and got up on stage in front of all of us and said, "You're all a bunch of losers. If you want to continue to lose, go and get your little 1%, or you can nominate me and be a winner." I was just like, "Oh my God, dude!" He stood in front of libertarians. We're the most rabid fucking political ideology in the world. Nobody hates anybody worse than libertarians hate you. That's how it works, including libertarians. Okay, nobody hates libertarians more than libertarians. But the fact that Trump got up there at our national convention in front of 1,000 free Ross signs and said, "If you want to be a loser, go ahead and keep being losers. That's fine. You can be a loser, or you can vote for me and you can win." I was just like, I couldn't believe it, dude. It was the funniest shit. It was the funniest shit I've ever seen a president do ever in the history of ever. Okay. Maybe there were funniest presidents back in the George. I mean, I can imagine big, dumb, redheaded, retarded George Washington was probably pretty funny too. I don't know.
Yeah, if you could understand anything he was saying. I can't imagine he was the most articulate guy.
It's still my favorite jokes from Shane Gillis too.
Shane's, yeah.
Dude, the
just
whole George Washington.
Yeah,
dude, he's talking about going to his fucking slave quarters and shit, dude. Oh my God, he had me rolling. And then we was talking about how George Washington was like, a foot taller than every Britishman at the time. And he fucking crossed the river on Christmas in the snow. And they're like, George won't come. Oh, it's fucking George. That shit had me rolling, dude. Shane's good. I think Shane's helping to lead the way for some of the offensive comedy too. He's a little more reserved than our good friend Josh here, though.
Yeah, certainly. He's and I do think, like, listen, I like Shane. I think he's fantastic. I think he's got more God-given natural funny in him than anybody else walking around today, and I would include myself in that. Like, he's just your buddy who's like the funniest fucking guy in the room, whether he tries to be or not. But but it was when he went back on SNL and didn't do any sort of fuck you. I walked away going, oh, we're very different guys.
Yeah.
Like we are very different guys, because I would have not. I would have done what Norm did times 10. Like I would have not been able to not say fuck you on national television and like just walk off the show and fuck the whole show over. Because I just, that's just in the nature of who I am. Like if Food Network was like, we want to mend fences, we want you to come back on, and it was going to be live. Oh yeah. That's why that would never happen. So it's like, I don't hold that against Shane. We just are different guys. And, he's a guy who's like, I get it. They were forced to make that choice. And to which I would argue, nobody is forced to make a choice. That's why it's a choice. And they chose to fuck you over and hang you out to dry, and they deserve to be reminded of that at every step. But he's not a grudge holder like me. Sure. He's not a vindictive guy. So
well, I think at this point he's getting bigger than Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, he's bigger than Saturday Night Live.
He was bigger than SNL the day that happened. Yeah. It took a while to kind of everybody to come around to that, but and then there is no quantifiable metric for the Rogan bump. I mean, it is a life-changing thing for comedians. It's sort of like Carson was back in the day. But if you go on Rogan and you go on as much as Shane has on Rogan, and you've got the funny to hang there, there's no limit to what you can accomplish.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, Josh, I appreciate you coming on, brother. We're definitely at the end of the thing. I hear my 2-year-old up there just screaming bloody murder right now. I don't know what's going on, but we appreciate you to death. Where can people find you, support you, listen to you, all those good things, my man?
Yeah, just go to joshdennycomedy.com. You can link the special there. Goliath, it's on Rumble, YouTube, and X. That's where it's got the most views so far, is on X. And yeah, check out the Big Uglies podcast. That's linked on the website as well. Just joshdennycomedy.com. You can find everything there.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you, and we hope to see the rise to stardom soon, my man.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that you guys were in helping me and support me and talking to me before any of this stuff came out. So
yeah, I already thought you were funny. I thought you were funny before this, dude. So
yeah, so I'll come on anytime, and I appreciate the invite, and I'm glad you enjoyed the special, and thanks for the nice feedback. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks a lot, dude. You have a good one. Thanks again. All right, guys. Goliath's out now. Go check it out if you can. Twitter, all the places he named. Dude, I literally laughed all the way home today from work. Did you watch it today, or did you?
I watched it today.
The shit had me rolling. I mean, just absolutely.
I was at the office, and we're having like a big PR crisis, and I got a new job, and so I'm on my way out the door. So, and yeah, vibes in the office are weird. So I didn't laugh out loud at any point, because that would have been really weird, but
I laughed out loud the whole way home, dude.
I did have one moment where I'm like doubling over, preventing a laugh.
I'll say this before we go, because I'm sick tonight and I need to go to bed and take care of my kids. But look, if you're thinking about doing anything in the public eye, whether it's stand-up comedy, podcasts, politics, whatever the fuck it is, we need more Josh Dennys and less fucking people who are scared to be themselves, man. I need people that are willing to say what needs to be said, the hard truths, the ugly truths, the funny truths, the dark truths, whatever it is, they need to be said, because we're losing the war on language, and our society is crumbling because of it. And I'm just happy to see people like we talked about, Leonardo and Josh and all these great comedians that don't give a fuck anymore. It's really going to be a savior for us, man. And I can't appreciate it enough, man. Ryan, you got anything before we go?
Follow me on Twitter at BulldogGamer28. I have the Twitter locked down right now while I am going through the background check for my new job. Making sure. So that'll be unlocked once all of that clears. And then like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Follow us on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, wherever you're watching this, and download the Rumble app.
Yeah, download the Rumble app if you haven't yet. That's our little thing. We have to say it now.
We say it because we want money.
Yeah, we'd like to get paid for this show. We put a lot into it, so we'd like to get a little bit of money. You guys can always join all the subscription services too if you'd like to help us out a little bit. We'd appreciate that too. Shout out to my old buddy Gabe, my son's friend from my old house before we moved to this house. It's good to see you in the chat, man. Growing up, I hope you're doing well. I hope your mom's doing well and the baby's doing well too, man. It's good to see you, guys. We'll see you on Thursday for an all new show. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Until then, don't forget to break the cycle.
Due to legal reasons, I just have to explain. The lyrics of my last song may seem to contain a violent call to action in the verse and refrain, but I just landed in Minecraft. The helicopter part was in reference to GTA 5 and the things you do. So any violence you commit, I am not an excuse, because I just landed in Minecraft. A chipper is my friend and he's constantly cold. Accusations of incitement getting totally old. Make your own choices, yeah, you have control, because I just landed in Minecraft. Obviously I would never advocate force, unless there's due process and a trial, of course. And if you're convicted, we will make you a corpse. In Minecraft, just in Minecraft. You're nothing, I mean, you know it. No product bidders gets it close to COVID. Hold